Today is the day to wake, work, and win. Welcome to the Standard.
I really like that new intro. The old one was pretty serious.
Well, that's interesting because I've thought about that too. We got the San Diego Brigade guy coming up. You know, we interviewed him. We're also going to have Firefighter Fenton on the podcast. And, you know, I was thinking just with those guys, I mean, good dudes. I mean, that's what makes the fire service good, is to be able to turn it on, turn it off. I've never personally worked with the Brigade guy, but I have actually spent some time, long time ago, with the Firefighter Fenton, you know.
Yeah.
We did a burn camp together up in like Prescott, you know, for kids with burn injuries. That dude can make anything funny.
It's awesome.
I love hanging around those guys. That's when I was playing ball. That's what I loved. I loved being around the guys that weren't so serious all the time.
Yeah.
That's probably, people probably complain, that don't know me probably complain that I'm too serious all the time. But I mean, you could attest to that. Like, I love to laugh.
Yeah.
As much as anybody else. You can't take this thing too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, you can. It's not as much fun. It's a long career.
You can't. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself. You got to be able to laugh at
some people
table.
don't, though, and they're the assholes that nobody wants to work with.
So that old intro was just too serious.
A little hard.
And we think like that sometimes. There's times when you do think like that, when you get that call. But
yeah,
I like this. It's kind of just like, hey, just wake, work, and win.
That's it. That's all you got to do. It's actually pretty easy. Speaking of easy, joining our Patreon is easy. Just a couple bucks a month. You get more content. Holy mackerel. I don't know if you guys can see that, but old Laffy Toots over here spilled all his
coffee spill.
But yeah, for just a few shekels a month, you can help support the podcast. And the reason that you're seeing this on YouTube or listening to it on the radio is all because of our patrons. So thank you so much for all the support.
And even a new studio's coming soon.
That's right. We just went and planned it out as we speak. So all of that, the ability for us to do any of that is because of our patrons. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, standard issue. You want to go serious off the bat, or do you want to go serious at the end?
Let's go serious off the bat.
Okay. Although this is pretty much all over the place. This is happening in the Seattle area. But although COVID-19 remains in a lull, hospitals across the country are in crisis amid towering wave of seasonal respiratory illness, RSV. Pediatric beds are filling or full. People with urgent health problems are waiting hours in emergency rooms, hallways, and even parking lots. And some hospitals have pitched outdoor tents, conjuring memories of the early days of the pandemic. In the most striking examples, the emergency department in a Seattle area hospital became so overwhelmed last month that the department's charge nurse called 911 for help, telling the fire department they were drowning and in dire straits. There were reportedly over 45 people in the department's waiting room and only 5 nurses on staff. Central Catsup Fire and Rescue Chief Jay Christian told local media that he sent a crew to the hospital and firefighters helped hospital staff clean their rooms, change beds, take patient vital signs. Until the crisis subsided.
Right now, there's a lot to unpack already in this.
So this is the last, and then we can get to it. A report last month from healthcare analytics company Definitive Healthcare estimated over 300,000 healthcare providers dropped out of the workforce last year due to burnout and pandemic-related stressors.
Believe it.
So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. So let's start with first thing that I think. All right, RSV, that's going around, right?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, it was gone for 2 years.
And the seasonal flu is the same way.
It's gone. It was gone during COVID.
Correct.
Okay.
So
it wasn't gone. There's no way, right?
Listen.
I just think that
we're not.
Let's just talk about.
We're not doctors.
Briefly.
First of all,
I think they were grouped in 2 COVID cases.
All
this stuff, flu.
Well, I think you can look at the symptoms, and it's pretty easily. They both look very similar.
Correct. So we're just okay. So,
but
We don't have to spend too much time on that, but I believe that it didn't go away for 2 years. It was just probably grouped into the pandemic sick cases.
Yeah, I think you're right. The hospitals are getting pretty bonkers, and we're seeing that now.
Well, and okay, we're gonna jump to the end of burnout, right? Everybody's going to the hospital for everything. If only the true cases went, that needed emergency room or inpatient care, be different. But I mean, we're seeing people go to the such and such engine respond on a headache, right?
Well, let's go back.
That's going to that burns us out, which then we transport that person because there's no other answer. Now who's that burning out? Now it's burning out the hospital because now they've got to spend time, writing paperwork on that, treating this person, treating that person. Burnout, man, of course.
So can you outpace burnout with higher wages?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so
Not at
either.
This rate.
I mean, I looked up how much the average nurse makes, and I gotta say, dude, a nurse in an ER has got to be up there with one of the jobs I would want to do least.
12-hour shifts on your feet,
just getting wrecked, right? Like
crushed.
The nurses get smoked
because then it's like when you need time to do stuff, somebody's ringing their bell.
Yeah, there isn't. I mean, you just keep getting more patients, and we get frustrated because we're with these scummy people. I'll say scummy for 15, 20 minutes, and we get burnt out on that. They have to deal with them for hours.
Well, and when you describe them that way, you're talking about knowingly abusing the system,
100%.
Saying the right things.
Well, like, okay.
And telling you can't deny me this or that. Well, no, I clearly know you're not having an emergency.
Yeah. But I can't say that, right? So, like, let's say it's starting to get cold, right? So now we're going to get a lot of the homeless people being like, hey, I have chest pain or I have shortness of breath because they know for a fact that they're going to get a room. And then you can't really tell them, listen, dude, like, can you just go to a shelter because you're just going to take up a hospital bed? There's nothing wrong with you. You can't say that. You have to do follow protocol, send them in, and then now the nurses have to deal with that.
What a weird time at the beginning of COVID when people were afraid to go to the hospital.
Oh, dude.
And a lot of them figured things out
on their own.
They did.
I mean, it was refreshing to be able to go into a house and be like, listen, you are better off at home. And
that's still the case.
Yeah.
That was the case before COVID and even after COVID. I mean, most of our calls, like, you're honestly better off here. You're going to go to a hospital and wait around forever when you could treat yourself at home, be more comfortable.
Yeah.
Not incur bills to pay, The
one thing I thought was interesting about this story is that regardless of who you are, everyone calls the fucking fire department.
I can't believe she called 911.
And it's just like,
I can't believe they went there and took care of that.
Part of it is
because guess who's getting paid and billing and who's making the money? The hospital. Is the hospital reimbursing the municipal department of the district for coming in and doing that?
Part of it is like, you know what? We still are those people. We still are the people that anyone can call. And I think that's true. Awesome. But
and I get it. Like, you have this unprecedented call that comes up or night, I'm just going back to say like the theater shooting. I mean, the hospital's, 70 victims.
Right.
That is something that easily like, okay, hey, we're going to call in rigs because they're going to come help whatever they need for this 8 to 12 hour stretch.
Take care of the greens or whatever.
Yeah, I get that. But this is normal stuff that happens every year, November, December, like flu season starts.
Yeah. But
you don't have people that you can pay. Now that, they pay nurses double time for their normal shifts, travel nurses get even more. And you can't keep people, we can't keep people in the fire service. We can't keep people in, because healthcare is now, I mean, it's like community med checks for us, like on wheels. That's what it is.
Well, I looked up, it says the average ER nurse makes 77 to 107,000 with top earners doing 124. It's way higher than that. I mean,
with overtime and stuff.
Yeah, they're paying, hey, we'll do another couple $1,000 just to come in for a shift. I mean, we know charge nurses that are doing that. And you can't outpace what's going on with money. And I think that, the job thing has been politicized where one side is saying, these CEOs are making too much money. They're gouging the working man. And then the other side is saying, well, these people are just lazy. And so I think there is somewhere in the middle. So I looked up the 10 highest paid CEOs in healthcare.
All right.
And we have Vivek Giripaldi of Clover Health, $389 million a year.
So what is Clover Health? Is it a parent company for anything we know? $389 million a year?
$389 million a year.
Dude, that is unreal.
The dude in second.
You've got to be producing a lot of income for a lot of investors and being able to pay a lot of employees.
Yeah, man. I mean, the next one on the list, let's see, Clover Health.
I got to think. Are you including pharmaceutical companies in this?
No, this is just CEOs of hospital groups.
Okay. So I got to think that, there's a crisis for hiring and keeping people in your hospitals, but I would think that CEOs and people that run these are like, hey, man, this is business. We're doing good. As long as they keep coming, we'll figure out how to keep turning and burning them. But yeah, our biggest problem is trying to find people that will work for us to provide the care in the ERs, inpatient, ICU, stuff like that. But they're not going to stop coming, so we are golden.
Yeah,
and we're getting paid by insurance companies.
But at some point, the system's going to break.
Is it?
Yeah.
But for them, does it break on the streets? Does it break in their ERs?
They're not going to.
Still are getting all the income they could ever want.
They're going to be fine.
Right.
I'm saying it's going to break for the average person. I mean, right now, the first wave of this is you can't go where you want to go anymore. So when hospitals are too busy and you're like, hey, I want to go to this hospital because, this is where I've been seen before. Now it's, hey, too bad. We got to take you to this other one that maybe you're not going to get the best care. So I think that's the first wave of this. And then soon it's going to be, listen, there is no place. There's no place to go. So we're going to sit
but they solved your first problem with these satellite ERs.
Yeah, we can't take them to those for everything, though.
But it's a way for them, like, we can still make a ton of money. Let's just do satellite ERs. I mean, to put these things on the corner of busy intersections and build them is expensive.
Oh, I'm not.
And they're going to they're solving that. So I think they're just going to put up more clinics everywhere that are hospital affiliated. And I don't see it breaking, man. I just see it just bending and bending and bending and burnout and just revolving door, get new people in that aren't burned out. That's what it's going to turn into.
Yeah, you won't be able to get the quality of care that you did before. It's just not, that is not sustainable. So I don't think that will break. But the CEO, I mean, they're obviously going to keep making their money. I mean, that's not going to stop. Yeah. So then I was like, all right, what are the busiest ERs in the U.S., do you think? Give me like your top two. You can even just give me cities.
Cook County.
Great. That's a good one, but that is not even in
LA.
the top 10. Parkland in Dallas is number one.
Okay.
With 210,000 visits a year.
What does that account to per day? I'm looking up this Clover Medical, by the way.
Oh, I looked it up.
Oh, okay. So
it didn't really seem like it had any hospitals that we go to. So let's look up 210,000.
So it says Clover Health is an American healthcare company. Dude, founded in 2014. It's 8 years old, and the dude's making $400 million. They provide Medicare Advantage insurance plans and operate as a direct contracting entity with the U.S. government. So they have it made.
Yeah.
They're basically
government contracts.
Yep.
So this is saying that Parkland Hospital is getting 575 emergency room visits a day. That's crazy.
24 hours. So what's that? 24 times 24.
23 people an hour.
Damn, dude. So every 3 minutes, every 2 minutes, somebody new is walking in. or being brought in. Boom.
Yeah.
Next.
Lakeland, Florida, then Grady Hospital in Atlanta, and
is Lakeland? I mean, is that more retired? Probably an older elderly population, maybe.
I don't know.
If that contributes to it.
Everything in Florida.
Yeah.
And then number 8, UC Health in Aurora. 8th busiest hospital. I mean, we don't work there, but
Take a lot
close
of people there.
Close to East Metro. Yeah, with 132,000 ER visits a year. It's a lot, man. I mean, I think the way to stop this is, and I think a lot of departments are trying to dispatch community health people. You know, like, hey, I worked at a department that had a rig that had a doctor, a psych nurse, and a police officer cruising around in a vehicle all day long and solve people's problems. Hey, you want to go to the hospital? This is shenanigans because you need your.
But it works for them
refilled?
because there's a doctor there who has malpractice insurance, right?
Yeah.
And who can definitively say, like, no, you don't need to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
We're stuck operating under a doctor, and it's just like, okay, they call our dispatch. Our dispatch can't say no, right? Because if something bad happens, they're on them. So send it to suppression, send it to us. We can't say no because then it's on us.
We can say no. I mean, I worked for a place.
But you're still taking liability. Like, I still don't. If you recommend to somebody, which you're seeing this in Phoenix now, right? They're getting kind of in hot water and all this stuff because they were telling people they don't need to go to the hospital. Well, turns out one of the guys, they tell is having some medical issue and it becomes serious, right? I think the guy might have passed away. So they get sued. So now there's like this state law. It's either in draft or it has been passed that EMS, first responders, cannot tell somebody to go to the hospital or not. So it's like you show up and be like, here's your options. Here's an ambulance. Do you want it? Which we pretty much say anyways.
Yeah. Hey, you call, we haul. We should
just start putting that on.
Yeah, dude.
Ambulances.
911. You call, we haul. Yeah.
Taxi. Glorified really expensive taxi.
Well, those they don't have to pay for it. Taxpayers pay for it.
Right.
But so anyways, huge problem.
If hospitals start calling us more to do that, then the system will break.
Yeah.
But it's up to people who run this ship to, you got to say no, right?
Someone
if a guy's
has
calling,
to say
if a guy, for example, if a guy calls and is locked out of his house and he says, I can't get into my house. I can't call a locksmith because my phone's died. I have no medical emergency, no meds inside. But my phone only works for 911 calls, so can you guys help me out? Like, we have to say no.
Yeah.
We have to say no.
It's not
an emergency.
Well, I think there's a argument to be made that, well, why not? Like, why can't you go help that person? And
because now we're getting to the point where I agree with you. It's great. Yeah, well, we're not really doing anything at the moment. Sure, of course, we'll go help you out. But now we've enabled it, and it's become this avalanche now. It was a snowball rolling down a hill. Now it's an avalanche, and now it's people expect it. They're calling for everything. And so is the solution to kind of cherry pick and say we're going to say no to some things and other things, or do you just cut it all off and say we're only going to emergencies?
Well, I don't know if it has to be binary like that. I think you can, like, to me, the biggest thing is like, hey, as if I'm the chief, it's we're going to take this crew out of service for a real emergency. That's not good. So the argument can be made, okay, well, just break off and go to that call.
You're not even detached to the call, so you just break off. And there is validity to that.
So, okay, what about that? Exactly. So now the downstream effects of that we are already having a hard time keeping people. We're having a almost impossible time keeping good people. So it might not seem like a big deal at the time, but the downstream effects, I think, are pretty big. So a possibility is, you know what? We are in the middle of something. We're going to put it in the queue, and we will get to it when we get to it.
I thought about this last shift as we were driving around. You take one two, maybe 2-person crews, sit around in a pickup truck. Could even go around in a car.
Doing service calls.
Lift assist.
Oh, I'm going to just hold that.
Holding?
We're going to lift assists eventually in this thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, even having a 2-person team to go out and do community service, hey, in smoke detector installs, lockout assists, the things that a 4-person suppression unit should not be doing.
Right. And then you have a queue of calls. So it's like, if you are wanting this free service that we can get, you're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
And as these calls increase that are not for 911, not emergency, you're going to wait longer. We'll still provide it, but only to an extent. If you're willing to wait 2 or 3 hours,
right,
you might get help.
Right. So, anyways, I think we fixed it. So
we solved it.
You're welcome. We're going to go to India, and I am going to screw up some names. Okay, I'm throwing that out there.
Would you like me to read?
You know what? You can try. I think even you're going to mess them up.
Pass it over here. An 8-year-old boy in India bit and killed a cobra after the reptile wrapped itself around his arm and sank its fangs into his skin. This 8-year-old is a savage.
Fact. I would like you to read where he was from, since you think you're not going to mess this up.
Known only as Deepak, was attacked by the snake in a remote Pandarpad village in India's central Chhattisgarh region on October 31st. Deepak was playing outside his family home when the incident happened. After wrapping around his arm, the snake bit down on it, possibly exposing the boy to deadly poison. Even though he was in pain, the boy shook his arm, but the reptile held firm. The boy then decided to give the attacker a taste of its own medicine.
I love it.
It's good writing here. He bit into the body of the cobra, successfully killing it. He told the New Indian Express, quote, "As the reptile didn't budge when I tried to shake it off, I bit it hard twice. It happened in a flash. The boy's parents rushed him to a nearby medical center where he was kept under observation. An examination of his injury found that he sustained a dry bite. This meant the cobra did not release any venom." This is fucking amazing.
Dude, I mean, think about it.
Dude, so think about, the whole phrase, fight fire with fire. Cliche. That dude, that's like, you can bite me, I'll bite you.
Yeah, and then I'll bite you again. And then this cobra didn't release the venom. That's amazing. That kid, for all intents and purposes, should be dead. A cobra was around his arm, started to bite him, and then he's like, you know what? I'm not going to try and grab a weapon. I'm not going to, any number of ways that you can get that thing off you. He's going raw dog this cobra in his mouth twice. It's really impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And he's 8.
Can you get him on the show?
Yes. He is going to be here shortly. And
flying him out?
Yeah, we're going to fly him out. Right. Thanks to our Patreon members.
Right.
We can totally do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So,
can you think of anything that, how about, remember the mountain lion in Fort Collins?
Yeah.
Dude fought like
30-year-old.
How about the, as far as we know, the video is real. This happened years ago. Remember the dude whose kangaroo was
and
he just boxed him. And
I'll put it up here.
Yeah.
Super,
that was cool too.
Super impressive.
I think they both, like the kangaroo, you look at both their faces and the kangaroo's like, did he just do anything?
Yeah, are you serious?
And the dude's like, are you going to fight back? I just punched you. I'm ready. Okay, we're just going to agree to go our separate. Okay.
I said,
take my dog and get
I
out
said,
here.
good day.
Yeah. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I've never had any animal encounters. Oh, have I told the story where I almost shot a golden retriever?
I think that's like a huge sin, isn't it? Like, you can't do that.
Well, so we're up in the mountains, and we're coming down from a fort.
Can't shoot labs or golden retrievers.
Well, I didn't know what it was. So we're coming down, hiking to 14ers, my wife and I, and I see on this trail some movement, and I'm like, still like kind of early-ish, and it was the size of, it just didn't look like a dog, and we were way up there. Like I was not expecting to see that. So I pulled out my gun and I'm like, all right, if this goes down, I'm not going to have that much time to react. So I'm just going to get ready. And the closer it got, it was obviously had the movement of a dog. And then I see two people following by. And I'm like, never mind.
Imagine being on the other side of that. Like some dude shoots your dog. I'd be so pissed. It would go down right there.
100%.
Then you'd probably shoot me too.
But I mean,
what the fuck did you shoot my dog for?
100%. Yeah.
Sounds like you're a little on edge on that 14er hike or something. Maybe you're just out of breath and you couldn't think straight.
Yeah, so the wheezes were getting to me.
What did Kate say when you pulled out the gun?
I think she was just like, I'm glad he's got a plan.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I just don't think you can go out into the wilderness without one. That's my...
All right, so back to the snake. What's a snake bite feel?
I got some snake
facts. All right, what's a snake bite feel like?
Oh,
I mean, do you think non-venomous, right? I mean, venomous, you're like, obviously can paralyze you and stuff like that, and that limb, and it works its way in. But I wonder what that feels like.
Well, they've done it a few times on Jackass. It doesn't look comfortable, I'll tell you that. 85% of snake bite deaths recorded in 2019 occurred in India. 85% of the deaths.
I was actually looking for a documentary to watch last night, and there was the thing on Alabama snake something, and it had a little picture of a dude with a snake, and the synopsis was, this is a story about some preacher's wife who she was accusing him of trying to kill her by a snake bite. I didn't watch it.
Was he using snakes part of like their religious?
I didn't watch it. I think I heard it briefly about this whenever it happened. But
yeah. I was down doing a class in Broward County, and we had some Miami-Dade firefighters there, and they have like a snake team. Like that's your job. You're a fireman, but like your job is to go out and like wrangle snakes. Hard pass, dude.
Yeah, hard pass.
Would you rather do lift assists for the rest of your life, or would you rather go wrangle snakes? Ooh, this is taking too long for you to answer.
Man, lift assists are getting so old.
No, I'm gonna get to lift assists. I promise.
Okay,
you're gonna have a lot of opportunities to talk about it. There's around 3,000 different species of snakes in the world, and in Australia they have 140 species of land snake and around 32 species of sea snake. Could you imagine a more terrifying...
In the water, and then...
there's nowhere to go.
And
you
they
can't
just move
run.
like this. And, yeah.
Hard pass. Largest anaconda, 33 feet long, 3 feet across, and weighed 880 pounds.
3 feet?
Yeah.
How much did it weigh?
I got to show you this, dude.
Oh, my God. Can you outrun that on land?
Dude, I have no idea.
How fast do they move? I'd be interested to see how fast they move on land.
I'll find out for you.
Oh.
Yeah, dude.
I'd turn into Olympic sprinter in no time. But I don't know if that's fast enough either.
It was on a construction site, and they killed it.
Yeah.
Let's see how fast.
I killed that snake when I moved into my place here. It was like 4 feet, bull snake. It looked like an anaconda.
This says 12 to 18 miles an hour.
Dude, so you can outrun it, but you gotta move. That's a full on sprint.
Fact.
Oof. Damn. Can you imagine just like nipping at the back of your heels?
Nope.
It's just gonna bite right into your Achilles and drop you down.
Yeah, sure can't. This one's gonna be quick. This is down in Texas. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer allegedly showed a pornographic image to a group of 7th graders while giving a Red Ribbon Week presentation at a school. So according to McAllen police, the officer had his phone hooked up to the projector at this junior high, and as he was unlocking it, boom, showed some pornography. The department said an investigation is ongoing.
You cannot use any of your personal stuff. Text threads, anything. It's just all...
Have you ever had...
I've never looked at any porn ever in my life, ever.
I mean, that's clear.
No, never.
That's obvious.
I don't have it. Nothing.
Correct. But have you ever had something come up on a screen? It doesn't have to be that you weren't expecting.
I don't know anything about it.
That you weren't expecting. Like, have you ever had that?
Like when you're giving a presentation?
So here's an example. My brother is a teacher, and he was showing like a YouTube video. But you can see all of his YouTube searches on the side because it's like his personal thing. So these kids, and none of them were bad, but these kids like got a full layout of like, it was like soccer videos and like this other kind of stuff, like funny TikToks. But I mean, so much information was gleaned from that like, split second.
Remember the story of the guy at our station that went to his room around lunchtime and was hooked up to the speaker for the workout and
don't have your stuff hooked up to a Bluetooth at the firehouse.
Makes for a good laugh.
You gotta shut it down.
Yeah.
So anyways.
And now he's getting an investigation, you know? It's like, I don't know. Seems intentional, but now when you show it accidentally to 7th graders.
Yeah.
So what, he's going to get like pedophile charges? Lose his job?
Yeah, I mean.
Come on.
It's everyone's dirty secret. 37 pornographic videos are created in the United States every day.
That's it? 37?
A day. Full videos are created a day.
That's it?
What do you mean that's it?
I would think
that is so many.
Amateur, professional, all these websites. I would think it would be thousands a day. People are. I mean, you have a camera in your hand. People are filming themselves all the time.
So
I don't, but
no,
you are
clearly. 68 million search queries are related to pornography every day. 2.5 billion emails containing porn are sent or received every day.
Oh my God.
40 million Americans regularly visit pornography sites, and 35% of all internet downloads are related to pornography. 1/3 of porn viewers are women. That is the fact, the everyday facts that I found about pornography. So obviously
2/3 men, yeah.
So, but again, no one's watching it. Nobody that I know, nobody that you know, but it's everybody else.
This is an industry I know nothing about.
It's millions of other people.
I probably shouldn't even be talking on it because I'm clearly, I don't know anything about it. So it's really, I'm uneducated on it.
Let's go to Wisconsin.
Okay.
I love this story because of my hatred for the Packers. So I am putting everybody in the same basket and bear down.
Yeah, you hate the Pack. I mean, I'm grew up a Bears fan too, but it's like you only hate them because they win.
They cracked that ass.
And they've had a quarterback forever between
Favre
and Rodgers.
Who I like.
And the Bears have never had a quarterback.
Well.
No, name one.
We do have one of the best rushing quarterbacks of all time right now. But this isn't a sports podcast. Okay? All right. We're going to Wisconsin. A nurse from Pierce County, Wisconsin, is charged with amputating a patient's foot without his knowledge or doctor's authorization. A nurse in western Wisconsin has been charged on 2 felony counts of elder abuse for allegedly amputating a hospice patient's foot without a doctor's orders or patient's consent. She then told colleagues she wanted to preserve the foot and display it at her family's taxidermy shop. This is the most Wisconsin story ever. The only thing it doesn't have is cheese. That's it. That's the only thing that's not in the story.
Well, you're going to put the foot with an ankle and then put a cheese head on top of it.
She wants to put it in a boot. I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to how she wants to display this. Mary Kay Brown, 38, of Duran, was working at Spring Valley Health and Rehab Center on May 27th when the incident occurred. The victim, 62, but neither his name or date of birth were included in the complaint, was dead by June 4th. So this happened May 27th. He was dead June 4th.
Not from, I'm sure this didn't help, but he was already a hospice patient, correct?
Correct.
Damn.
So the victim had been admitted to Spring Valley facility in March after falling at his home. Basically, this guy fell, hurt his ankle, and had no heat on in his house. So he got frostbite on the injured foot. Okay, and that's why he was at... And it sounds pretty gnarly, this frostbite, because his foot was only hanging on by one tendon. Roughly 2 inches of skin was keeping the foot attached to the leg.
Not good.
It's gross, right? That's certified gross. So a nurse who had been changing the bandages on his foot the morning of the 27th said that the victim was able to wiggle his toes. So he still had movement in it. Okay, this like dangling foot. It sounds disgusting. Brown told 2 other nurses at shift change that she was going to cut the victim's foot off for comfort. The criminal.
So how did the foot get to its point now?
Frostbite.
Okay.
So injury plus frostbite.
And just hanging on. So it's before she even engaged in this act, it was barely hanging on, but he did have movement and all that.
Correct.
Okay.
Sounds like a horrible situation.
Okay.
The other 2 nurses said to leave the foot attached. Thank you.
Yeah.
2 other nurses for
Don't go near that.
Standing up. Shortly after the conversation, Brown and 2 certified CNAs went to the victim's room.
Certified.
They're certified.
Qualified?
Certified. Went into the victim's room to change the bandages on his feet. Rather than change the bandages, Brown cut the victim's tendon, which amputated the right foot completely. One of the nurse's assistants told the investigator the foot was then placed in a red biohazard bag and placed in the freezer. The nursing assistant told the investigator that Brown said her family has a taxidermy shop where she is going to preserve the foot and put it on display with a sign saying, "Wear your boots, kids." She had a plan.
That's not a bad plan, actually.
Well, that's going to bring some people into your shop, seeing a human foot.
And lesson learned, right? Learn from this guy.
Well, he got frostbite because he didn't have any heat in his house. So I'm assuming it fell and damn near froze to death.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
it's bonkers. So maximum.
You couldn't just like pay somebody to make a prosthetic foot to make it look like it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
serves the same lesson. You need a real human one.
Well, I think Brown's a big fan of authenticity.
Yeah, I don't want to lie to people.
So $100,000 fine and up to 40 years in prison for this act.
I hope if there's nothing on her record, there's no reason that the taxpayer should be putting her away for 40 years. Maybe
so what do you think her punishment should be?
She's got to pay for the funeral and some of the medical expenses that the family has to incur.
I think you take her foot. Eye for an eye, foot for a foot.
Well, like we were saying, snake bites you, you bite it. You take someone's foot, you get your foot taken.
That's where I'm at.
Fair.
You know? So then I got into a deep
Here we go.
Deep dive.
Here we go again.
Amputations in like the Civil War and the Revolutionary War. Gangster,
you know,
dude.
so I actually got into it might have been just when the Queen of England passed away, and I was looking into like the monarchy and all that, and I think it might have been King George the First. He was the first. I don't know these names.
Whatever, man.
Whatever.
Yeah. We won a war, so I didn't have to.
Yeah,
that.
So I got into a kind of a dark hole on him and his life, and how there was this war going on between the Parliament and all that, and they eventually like overthrow him, and so they're like they charge him with treason and all that, and so beheading. And I'm like, damn, like actually reading this thing, like they used to do that shit, and they gave him like 3 days, and so he's like saying goodbye to his kids. He knows, everybody knows he's dying, his family knows he's dying, his son knows he's dying, and it's like, you have 3 days to spend, and then we're taking you, in this
guillotine
main area, and you got a dude with a big ass sword and cuts his neck off. Gone. But I mean, it's like,
it's heavy.
Yeah. I was like reading, I was like, damn.
Well,
and then later on, it turns out that like he did some good stuff, and I think he's more revered now than
he was.
But I mean, talk about like traumatic as a kid, like, not just accidentally losing your parent, but it's like, they're going to kill me in 3 days. This is all you have. Like, he said he didn't like weep at all. He didn't cry with his kids. Like, was talking to them to like, be strong, stay strong. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah.
That's gangster.
Yeah.
I'd have a real problem with that.
Yeah.
Well, how do you think if you were needed something amputated in the Revolutionary War, like how do you think that they went about
Sawzall?
Old school Sawzall.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have those around then?
No.
Man, just some really, really sharp sword.
No, they used like a saw, like a bone saw.
God.
And
so is that like really fine tooth or?
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, and they had, I'll put up a picture of the implements that they used, but
What were they using back then for pain? Were they?
Yeah. So in the 1800s is when chloroform was found. So
talking the chloroform that goes.
Yep.
So they just put them out.
So they would have like this cone they would put over their head, and then a rag soaked with chloroform, so it would like gradually keep them out. And then I didn't know this, but they actually had morphine. Like the first opioid crisis in America was the Civil War. They had the people who were like recovering from their injuries use opioids, and they obviously the same problems that we're having now they had back then. But before that, it was just booze. They would get you drunk, and then they would cut your shit off.
Damn.
So the field amputations, they were just down and dirty, like cut your limb off, tourniquet, and
let it heal over itself.
Let it scab. And then if they had time, they would cut skin, like triangles of skin, and then fold it over.
Leave it extra, and then
dang, it's nuts, man. I remember a interesting story after Oklahoma City bombing of a surgeon who had to come down and do a field amputation.
Somebody trapped?
With no anesthesia.
Was it Aaron Ralston? Was that his name? He got his arm trapped under a boulder.
Oh, yeah. Out
in Utah. Here or Utah? Yeah.
Utah.
And it was like a Swiss Army knife or something, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think at that point he had lost all feeling, so he's not feeling it, but it's still, that to go in a 12-hour period to go from I'm fine, I'm hiking to okay, my arm's trapped.
Now I got a decision
now
to make,
it's
right?
dead, and now I'm going to cut it off because I need to live. Can't believe it. I'm good with names sometimes.
Now
not the king of whoever I was looking up, but that guy. I'm pretty sure it's Aaron Ralston. That was the name, Aaron Ralston, I think.
If not, you're going to get
I know
some serious hate for it. So let's talk about falls. They're the second leading cause of unintentional injury deaths in the world.
All elderly, right? I mean, that's where a lot of them are.
I would assume so. Each year, an estimated 684,000 individuals die from falls.
That whole fall to the ground and hit your head on the ground is bad.
Yeah, I mean, it says adults over 60 years old suffer the greatest number of falls. I found some research that because we go on lift assists every day, a couple times a day.
We do a few. Right? I would consider us experts in the field of lift assists.
We are. How many people is the suggested amount of lifters for a 250-pound person? 4. That's right.
You know what? And
how did you?
Ironically, it's perfect for a fire crew. Send those guys.
This is the recommendation for a 250-pound person is 4 people. Interesting, but a couple departments have done some like research stuff. London Ambulance Service being one of them, found that 40% of elderly patients, so over the ages of 65, are not transported to the hospital after. So basically, like that, 40% of their elderly falls are all lift assists.
Yeah,
it's an incredible amount of people. The department that kind of put this into action was Omaha.
Wait, back up. 40% of their falls or 40% of their calls?
Falls.
Okay, so of all the fall injuries, they turn out being 4 out of 10 are lift assists. So.
Correct.
Okay.
And a majority of those that aren't transported are summoned by EMS again within 2 weeks. So it's a frequency problem.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's only a matter of time. The frequent flyers we've seen for lift assists, at the elderly care or assisted living or whatever, the more they fall, it's only a matter of time before something bigger happens.
Yeah, so Omaha does a $400 fee.
I'm listening now. What do you got?
Yeah, they've instituted a
Omaha Fire Department?
Yeah.
Go on.
So basically this is for their healthcare facilities. So
that's fair. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. What about just like elderly community housing? Like a retirement home.
Yeah. This would fall under that $400 fee would fall under that.
They don't provide. Well, okay.
There was a significant reduction in 911 lift assist calls from healthcare facilities after they implemented this fee.
I know it's been written into some sort of a law for us.
But those are nursing homes.
That they can get fined. But yeah, I mean, I think it should be anytime you have healthcare personnel on scene and a large number of them, they need to be able to handle that themselves.
Yeah. And I was trying to find out how many, it seems like it's pretty hard to quantify how many injuries lift assists cause to healthcare workers. Yeah. But I mean, we know people who've gone out for backs because of lift assists.
Here's the story.
I love it.
So, man, I'll never forget this call because it did fuck my back up for a while. And I was 25 at the time. My back was great. Doesn't feel like it does now. I'm 38 right now. So
you are 40. You just turned 40.
Oh, no, I think I'm 38.
Closer to death now than ever.
So we go on this lift assist. You know, it's one of those ones where you got to call in 2 crews. So you need 2 crews because if it takes 4 people, you said to what lift?
250 pounds.
Right. Now we're talking we needed a double, and there you go. Good math. Okay. This person had surgery on their knee.
Football injury or running? Was it
well, ironically,
box jumps?
I like the fact that you mentioned running because this is great. So this person was given money and a place to stay on the first floor of a hotel to recover. On a motel, you know, just walk right in, walk right out, wheel right in, wheel right out. But they decided that it was better that they wanted to go home to their 4th-story apartment. Well, when they got transported there, the elevator was broken. So the private company called us in. So there was actually not 8 people, 10 people.
Good math.
Yep. And so we had to carry this person up 3 floors of stairs and down a long hallway on what you would call a mansack.
Mega mover, basically a tarp with handles.
Right.
Yep.
But since this particular person was so wide, you couldn't kind of use your legs. Each one of us was pinned against the outside wall of the hallway, only able to bend at the waist with straight legs. So we're basically doing like RDLs. We're doing like straight-legged deadlifts, holding and shuffling down the hallway. I mean, it was a workout. And 2 of us hurt our backs. Now, you talked about running, right?
Yeah.
So we talked to this person. So how are you going to get out in the fire? Oh, I'll just jump out the window. Completely serious. After we had moved this person 3 flights of stairs and down, 200-foot hallway. Ooh, man. That was not a joke. She was joking.
I've told people...
That person was joking.
I've told people that if there's a fire in here, there's no way we're going to get you out. You're going to die in here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's true. I mean, if you are... What's the largest...
I think it's pretty... I think it's really selfish when you have an option... You want to go to your home so bad that you have an option to like stay on a first floor, but yet you're okay with 10 people like almost injuring themselves to get you where you want to go. Listen, temporarily.
I would want to do the same thing. I would want to go to my home to recover. But if you have made choices throughout your life that have led you to this point, that is no longer an option for you.
You lose that privilege to go to if that's where
give and take for everything.
Yeah. It was...
What's the largest person you've ever run on?
It probably was that person.
Yeah.
I mean, it was over 500 pounds. I think the 500 to 600 pound mark is that's tough, man.
At 8 bills.
Whoa.
800 pounder. Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was an incredible sight to see.
For a medical thing or just...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think anytime you run those calls, what goes through my head is like, how did it get to this point? You want to know the story.
Asked some people
when did this start? Did it start at age 8 or did it start at like 28?
I had a 400 pounder that we're in his room. And I'm looking around, and there's all these photos of someone who played for a D1 football team. And I was like, who's this guy? He's like, that was me. And I'm like, well, hey, man. And we were waiting. What were we waiting for? We were waiting for a bariatric unit to come.
Yeah.
And these bariatric ambulances where I used to work had a winch. And so a ramp would come down and then it would winch the stretcher into the ambulance. So we're waiting for there. So we're like there for like a half hour. And I'm like, hey man, if you don't mind, I'd love to know like what happened. And he said that he was playing for this D1 football team, and the draft stuff started to happen. I don't really know how that works, but I guess you get contacted by an agent saying, hey, that these teams want to look for you. That's what he told me. And so, he thought that that's the route he was going to take, and then his mom got sick. So he left school, moved home, and then after his mom passed away, he's like, I just lost it, man. Like I used food as a crutch. And I'm just like, whoa, dude. That we're talking maybe a few years to put on that much weight. He wasn't a small guy to begin with, right? He was a lineman, but
he was already, I'm sure his diet was already consuming a lot of calories just as, what he was doing in life, playing football.
It was nuts, man. It was interesting.
I think it just gets away from people and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough. The older you get and the bigger you get to rein it back in.
Right. You have to have a healthy relationship with food, So
everything in moderation.
Yeah. I found what I think might be a game changer in the lift assist. I'm going to show this to you. I'll put it up for the Patreon and for our YouTube. It's basically this chair that does the lift assist for you.
This is called the Razor. Lift Up by Razor.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to bend their knees and then it all connects together.
And then it like lifts itself up to get him in a seated position. Technology will fix it.
How much can this lift?
It's a good question.
Because on that video, that person looks fairly fit. They almost look like an Olympic athlete.
like all the people here on.
Right. Well, pretty sure that's not coming to a fire station near me.
No. So it's much cheaper to hire 2 new FTEs than it is to purchase a couple of those.
Right. On to more lift assists.